she said. We've got the guys from Primogenesis Games.
You can't see one of them because he's hiding. There he is.
Camera. Yeah, okay.
There he
I
is.
didn't realise I was actually in the
They're
shop.
showing us a brand new game that, am I right in saying no one has ever seen before?
Yes. Well,
Wow.
there's 4 of us, and a couple of mates have seen it. That is about it.
We're genuinely, seriously honoured.
So,
It's called The Third Law.
It is
right?
called The Third Law.
What is The Third Law in reference to?
It is in a reference to being a nerd, basically. Asimov's Laws of Robotics.
Right.
as
Which
in,
is, you know what, now I'm going to embarrass myself by not remembering. The first one's something to do with not do no harm, don't harm humans. Second one's to do with provide. The third one is protect yourself.
Right. Unless it doesn't break the first two.
As long as it doesn't break the first 2. So the robots are allowed to protect themselves. Hence a game where robots are fighting.
Yeah, nice.
Hence.
So it's an arena combat.
Arena combat,
robots.
skirmish stuff with robots, basically.
Nice.
With some nice, I don't know, some spurious fluff that says why robots are fighting and not humans.
But I think we chatted a little bit before, but I like. There's something about you don't necessarily need pages and pages of detailed, like, sometimes you just want to play a game and you know what's good? Robots in an arena.
Robots
and they're fighting for reasons.
robots ripping the shit out of each other.
Robots kicking the crap out of stuff.
Yeah.
There is, for the people that like fluff, I like to write. So there's plenty of it there. But if you don't really care about fluff, which is a huge number of gamers, including my colleague over there, then effectively Fight Club meets Death Race meets Robot Wars.
Nice. Who doesn't want that, right?
With a smattering of Blade Runner, Netrunner and Battletech, all kind of
all thrown into one.
mushed into one thing.
But think 2 teams of robots in an enclosed space beating the crap out of each other.
And so it's near future.
Near future, so it's all set in the real world. Yeah, let's do the brief précis is humans as the wonderful, lazy, self-indulgent beasts that they are.
Yes, I am. I mean, we are.
Huzzah!
Have consumed the resources of the planet.
Not all of them, because I've got some here.
You've got a few left. Yeah, you've got a few left. You've got some on your side there. And the main way they did that was when robots got invented. Proper good robots that could do all our jobs for us. So we all had a little robot slave that we could control. And like when the car was invented, we started needing more oil, more fuel, more diesel, more petrol, all that sort of stuff. Robots made that 10, 20, 100 times worse, to the point where suddenly one day it all ran out.
Oh no.
And society descended into chaos.
Hooray!
Hey! And I can't remember the quote, it's written somewhere on the website because I looked it up, but it's something like, any civilization is 9 meals away from collapse.
Yeah.
And that's the idea, is that what would happen if all the power ran out? And I think the technical term is we'd probably be a bit fucked.
Yeah.
So you've got a world with lots and lots of robots that have been invented for all different reasons, just lying around, because no one can power them. And then, in this world, the rich and the famous saw this coming, the 1%ers, the people with all the money and the control, and they disappeared off. Yep, you two would be in that group, absolutely.
Of course we would.
And they built themselves a nice little paradise, and they've gone to live on that. And they've got all the technology, they've got everything. They're living like gods, and they're looking down on the world from their nice little paradise, and they've intervened with all of their technology, and they've said, "Oh, you lot, stop killing each other. Stop doing it. We want the planet to regrow. We want the planet to survive."
And they are the Empyrean.
They are living on Imperia. They are the Empyreans, and they're all the powerful people that we all look at and say, "Oh, look at all that money." I would imagine Mr. Gates would be on Imperia, and Mr. Zuckerberg would be up there.
Just running around.
Yeah, and they've taken their money and they've taken their resources and they've invented themselves some pretty clever shit. And they're floating around going, "Whoa, right?" And in in the story, they have decided that it's bad for humans to kill each other. As because they're really benevolent, these lads. They're not really benevolent. It's basically their own little Darwinian experiment to see what happens.
But this is the edict, is that right?
This is the edict.
Which is an imposed
piece. So they've got all the technology. They can monitor all the humans that remain, because there ain't many of us, and they can see what's going on. So now humans ain't allowed to kill each other. They're going to come down and make a messy example out of you if you're caught doing a bit of murder. So,
but because humans love
they
violence,
do. We like a fight. We like a fight. So the human, we're endlessly inventive. And some bright spark has had a look around and gone, hold on, there's hundreds of thousands of robots flying around here. Maybe we could use them.
We could.
Dun dun
Dun,
dun
dun, And this is where we get to our robots. So these machinists that form the centre of the game, these very, very talented individuals, 1 in a million, 1 in 100,000, they've got the mental capacity, instead of like most humans to drive one robot remotely, they can drive more than one, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they've become the warriors of the new age, the celebrities of the new age. They're very, very valuable to the factions, because if the only way that you can compete against another faction is by beating them in this sort of ritualised arena, then you need your champion, who's gonna take your robots and win you that match. So the machinists are raised up. They're found within the factions. They're picked out of the slums, and they're tested. And if they can do it, then in they go, and they plug in. They've got their little headpieces, and they plug into the grid, and they kick back and they drive these robots. But there are risks inherent in that, because every time one of their robots dies, or every time an enemy plugs into part of the grid, they can inflict feedback. They can zap them. So in a in a beautiful and sort of, I don't know, the point of this game is to put someone into a coma. I'm not sure if that's particularly reprehensible or not.
Well, it is, as you say, it's like champions of old. Rather than this entire army murdering your entire army, and then both
It's two
countries
blokes
die, two
sitting
blokes
there
walk in the middle, they battle to the coma,
Yeah.
whatever that's called, and then it stops everyone else from
Yeah.
dying. You know, it's your gladiators, it's
Yeah.
your David Beckhams of the future
That's
world.
it. That's it. So the objective at the end of the game is basically to have only slightly fried your own brain, and to have reduced the other machinist to a gibbering wreck who's being carried out on a trolley, who may or may not recover in the fullness of time. So, I mean,
pretty much sounds like a typical Saturday night.
the more I talk this through, the more I realise that both of you are currently trying to put yourself into a coma anyway, without needing any robots.
No robots in.
I feel I've defeated the point of my own game. You've done
Oh
it
no,
with
you
Stella.
haven't. You haven't. It's very, very good, as you will find out.
And talking about machinists, that's a thing, as we were discussing pre-video, that is key to this game. You've got your robots, your wreckers, I believe they're called
Yep.
within the
We have
confines of the game.
an actual one.
An actual
one. There you go, sir.
Yeah.
So
So much
you've got
gushing
your
over this
wreckers,
model.
and you've got your machinist, and you could have a set of wreckers
Yeah.
with a machinist. You could have exactly the same set of wreckers with a different machinist, or same machinist with a different set of wreckers.
Yeah.
And they're kind of, it's 2 levels of army building, if you like.
Yeah, it's everything hangs on the machinist. The machinist is absolutely prime. So it's a bit weird, bit different. The machinist isn't a model on the board. It doesn't play in the game.
No.
So it's not like many games that we've all played, been huge fans of. You don't have a commander, a general, a champion out here fighting for you who can be killed. The machinist is you.
Way back there.
You, yeah, it's that ephemeral figure pulling the strings in the background, and effectively the machinist has an influence on everything around it.
Mm-hmm.
So machinist
that's
can
what a
dictate
guy
army
looks like.
selection. Sometimes, they might get a bonus for taking a certain type of wrecker. They might get a discount on a certain type of wrecker. They come with unique resources. Some of them come with more abilities to attack, some of them come with more abilities to defend. They define the critical hits your robots do. So on this side of the table you're sat looking at Arthur, right? And
It's my boy.
Arthur's little background, he's not the best, he's not the most talented, but he is hard. he does not like to die.
Yeah.
So Arthur's abilities reflect that, and he has a rule on his card that says when you're using Arthur, if your wreckers crit another wrecker, apply this effect. You swap Arthur out and you put Mo in, Mo has a different crit effect. So immediately just swapping a card has changed the array. And Arthur has a program, special rule that he can apply to his wreckers. Again, Mo has a different program. So no extra money, no extra spend, no extra buy-in, same 5 robots, same 5 upgrades. Swap the machinist card, utterly different effect, utterly different list.
And he's your that guy,
Yeah.
Jonathan, rollerball or,
God,
or
we are
something like
so
that.
fucking late.
He's that guy who everything, and I like that you've.
I like the way he's not involved. He's not there.
No,
He's sitting back there somewhere plugged in. I like that.
it actually adds to campaign play in my mind, because a lot of times you're playing a campaign and you know you've got your big dude and like Jeff the unkillable, and then he goes in and then someone kills him and you're like, oh, I don't know how to move on from this now.
Thing is, I can already see.
Whereas, yeah, he goes into a coma and he comes back eventually or whatever.
I can
it is.
already see a role-playing scenario based around this, where you know, right, look, I've had enough of playing up against these bastards. They keep beating us. I want you to assemble a team to get in there and take their bloke out.
Yeah.
There's a scenario waiting to
You're
happen.
forced to use a different machinist because they've taken the one you would normally
yeah,
take or something like
see,
that. Yeah.
heard it here first.
And I can see, because of the way the world is, there's already a lot of conflict, and because it's not, although there may well be countries and companies, it's not drawn in lines like physical lines in the world. Like you see some big maps, and they look great for some games, and you go, well, this is this place, and this is this place over here, and there's this other place in the middle. Well, why would they ever fight them? Because they're, 3,000 miles across the world, and you go, well, they just have no reason to meet each other. Whereas this, everyone's,
The gangs,
like say,
the gangs.
ritualised combat.
Yeah, we've called them factions.
It's this that brings them together.
Yeah.
They need this.
Yeah, I mean, there's many reasons that they will fight. At the end of the day, again, going back to your sort of scenario for how much you get into the fluff and that, but one of the things that was always in my head was effectively their wagering. Because if the Carbon Combine happen to need some food that week, and they've run out of food, and Full Metal Dragons happen to control the potato plantation around the corner, but the Carbon Combine as miners might have a stack of coal in the back, and they don't have any coal, well then somebody has a little conversation. It's ritualised combat, so you're not driving over there with your machines and hammering through the gates.
Yeah.
You're effectively knocking on the door and saying, would you fancy a fight? We'll put up 50 tonnes of coal against your 100 tonnes of potatoes, winner takes all. And it's sort of boiled down to that idea. I mean, there is a faction in the game, as yet unmentioned, whose role is to negotiate these deals. And who in the world before were a very mercantile group who specialised in hammering out big boardroom deals, and they've just sort of segued into becoming the middlemen of the new world. And if you want to arrange some sort of match, Carbon Combine against FMD, you might employ a negotiator from Ivory House to wander over there and put that together for you. But Ivory House themselves in the new world require resources, so they are actually a faction as well. A faction as yet unseen, but they exist in the mind at least, and on paper.
There's a lot more going on than what's actually happening here.
Yeah.
A lot more going on.
And I mean, that's, I think, because of this near future thing, you can see beyond the battlefield, whereas I think in a lot of games it's easy to think that's all there is. But I'm imagining the machinations of all of the.
We're not that far in the future, do you know what I mean? It's sci-fi, so you want to chuck in, well, how are the Imperians floating around on their paradise? They've invented cold fusion. That's it, a wizard did it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, he said the word! No,
I'm a wizard.
No.
I didn't shout it. I just
God, we
said
were doing we almost sounded professional for a minute, didn't we?
nearly. No.
Sorry,
Of course we
we're
did.
cunts.
But the machine, it's not even just about swapping the machinist out, because I love a bit of War Machine, I always have, and you get attached to Warcasters in War Machine. I love DK because he just was a gunslinger. This was it, and even though there were times in the rules where things would change, I don't care if he's that effective. I want to play EK because I had some sort of weird affinity with wishing I was like some really cool, good-looking Western gunslinger, which is it's a distant dream.
There,
Yeah.
Most
Yeah.
of them, yeah. You never guns, but apart from that, you're
no. Or magic powers, or any form of skill or talent. But apart from those things, I'm nearly there. But I'd play EK. I love DK. But the problem was EK is EK is EK is EK, and it doesn't change. With the machinists, they come with upgrades. So yeah, the card is set, but their abilities to affect the tabletop are up to you. So Arthur's an engineer, right? Kovacs is a strategist. They have an upgrade deck, and you're going through that deck and looking at the symbols on the card and saying what can they take. So you're not just set to going, right, Ekane does this and he has 6 spells. So I need to build a list that suits Ekane's 6 spells to make my list effective. You know, I want Arthur to function like this, so I will take X, Y and Z and then go from there. So you don't, I mean, we talked before about changing the list by swapping the card. You can change the list by swapping the upgrades on Arthur.
Yeah. And that, I think, is one of the things that as we were talking in our kind of pre-turn thing, is like the amount of stuff you can adapt and change to your personal playstyle without having to buy 8 packs of new models or a new Titan or a new, you know, batch of Space Marines.
It's user friendly.
It is user, yeah. It's a really good, yeah, it is user friendly. That's a good way of putting it.
We colour coded it just for straw.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, I stuck to old dice. Didn't think
So
that
if
through,
you-
though.
Just so that people at home can get an idea, if there were like 3 key parts of the game,
Yeah.
what would you say that, like, because I'm already, if I can interject, I think one of the key parts of the game as a player is you have your resources,
Subroutines, yeah.
Subroutines.
It's all programs, yeah.
which are dynamic offense, defense. And you can spend those, but also not just can you spend those to do things, but they're also affected by your machinist, and they then in turn affect certain impositions.
The idea is everything links.
Yeah.
So it all stems from the machinist, but when you're choosing your array, your subroutine pool.
Your array is your army.
Your array is your army,
Your
yeah.
your team or whatever.
You thickies out there, it's your figures!
It's because I'm obsessed with immersion. I want every game to feel like you're in it, so I want a language to make you feel like you're in it. So yeah, so you're doing your army selection, right? Now, a lot of the time in army selection, you're just looking at the effectiveness of the model. But each wrecker brings resources, brings subroutines.
Can you just show them us a bit of a subroutine? I know, I'm such a...
Is that a Shogun?
Yeah, that's
So-
Shogun.
Top.
I'll do all this, shall I?
Well,
Fuck me. Right,
Top
here's
left.
her card.
There's a little three little coloured discs, 2 reds and a yellow, I think.
He said right, didn't he?
Those are the subroutines that wrecker brings to the pool. Every wrecker brings subroutines. Some of them bring 3, a very rare selection might bring 4, some of the little ones bring 2. When you're picking your army list, you've got to consider what you're going to end up with in your subroutine pool. And we quite enjoyed this example before, and Muppet Boy who's hiding out of the way of the camera. When we were playtesting this once, we decided to start building spam lists, 7 of one type, see what happens. So Mark gets a little WhatsApp message and he thinks to himself, oh, I'm a clever boy, I can do Dave here. So he's playtesting the Ridden, which is the faction we've not really yet revealed.
So want to see these ones.
We might have some sneaky previews later.
Not for you.
He decides he's going to spam these loaders, these dock loaders, right? But he hasn't taken into account the subroutines. So loaders only come with 2, and they're a dynamic and an offensive, so they've got a red and a yellow. So he's got no defensive subroutines. Now he's thinking to himself, oh, it's fine, I've got loads of these things, I'm spamming them, they can just die. But he forgets that everything interacts with everything else. So the defensive subroutines don't just get put in for defence, they also are used to clear impairments. So I'm playing the Full Metal Dragons, and I've got one of these lovely little Naganatas here, who just happens to throw throwing stars that short the electrics on other machines. So there's Mark with his 7 loaders lined up.
Oh dear.
Wanders across the board with his ravening horde of loaders cackling to himself, oh, I'm going to out-activate you. Loaders work together as a pair, I'm going to smack the shit out of you. I'm just like how many points is a Naginata? 24 points. Very medium ranged wrecker. 124-point Naginata just walks up the middle of the board, goes shorted, shorted, shorted. 3 blue tokens goes down, and Mark looks down and he goes, right, how do we get rid of impairments? And Kev, who writes the rules, says, well, you've got to spend a blue to get rid of them. Do they not just expire? No. I haven't got any fucking blue. Yeah, I know that, Mark. I've been waiting an hour for you to realise it. So you've got a bit. What a chump.
That was a bit of a Parker moment.
What a chump. But you got to build your subroutine pool as part of your army selection.
And I think that promotes a certain amount of back and forth. Interaction. There you go. Words.
Wordage.
In that you can't just wait for stuff to expire. You have to be aware of what it does and aware of how to remove it, rather than just. And do you want to remove it? Because if you're spending these points
to remove
those, then you're not spending to actively do something else.
Yeah.
You'll see how these get used when we do the game.
Yeah, we are.
And it's quite clever. I hate saying that about games that aren't mine.
I know, right?
The only
Like
game
all
I
of the
play is
games.
Snap.
Yeah.
I play that shit and all.
So just to get an idea, we just move these forward just so people can see. So these are the like pre-production.
Yeah. So
kind of just.
We're at a point where we've got quite.
These are all nice though. I like all these. I like the layout.
Yeah.
I mean,
the feel of it. It's great.
Everything is prototype, but we've tried to make nice prototypes. Do you know what I mean? That's it. You go and see people, and you want them to like what you're doing. So we've got, as Straw's been showing off, we have got some prototype models here.
I really like that Nitro Blaster.
Yeah, little rocket tank. And these are all off at the moment being printed and going into production, but there's a reason we're going to Kickstarter. It costs a lot of money to make models.
Yeah.
So, we can have 2 or 3 prototypes, and then we can have standees, which will be up on the website.
It's
and
not
people
it's
can
the
download.
art on them is great as well. It really is
Adam
awesome.
Byrne is a stupidly gifted man. Stupidly
Awesome.
gifted. Absolutely mental. So these work very nicely for the time being, and they capture the feel of the faction. So you said straight away when we sat down, you were like, give me the big industrial fuckers.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Just give them me, I want.
I just got what was left over.
Oh yeah,
but
says,
you're not.
says the man gleefully katanaing everything to death. yeah.
Cowabunga!
Got a massive robot with a
Giant
fucking
katana.
giant sword.
Yeah.
And
You dick.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
And another big thing is like we were talking about big key rules. So you're
you got resource management.
you've got resource
Once you
management.
understand the
That's one part
resource
of it.
management of it, then it's great.
And
But
another
what you've
big
got to
part of it
remember,
is your-
shut up,
No,
I'm
it's all right.
talking.
No.
And what I find difficult about resource management is, right, well, I've got to remember, I've got to put them points there, them points there. In this game, they give you a resource, but then you can spend it wherever you damn well want during your turn. However, you can only get to a certain limit before it starts getting a little bit shitty.
which was overload.
Overload.
Yeah.
So there's a
Lovely little mechanic.
global rule in the game. Like you say, the first thing is you're not pre-allocating. So there's so many. We're trying to do something different. Basically, there's a lot of very, very, very good games out there that work on a pre-allocation system. So you have a pool, and you think about your turn and what you want to achieve beforehand, and you assign your resources at that point. We all love Guild Ball. We all love War Machine. These are games that we've played and are absolutely fantastic. And we're not inventors. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing magical and new here, but we want to try and be a bit different. So in this game, your resources are yours to spend as you please as the turn goes along, and that creates its own set of problems.
It's very fluid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very fluid.
As I noticed when
Yeah.
we had our first
Because
turn.
this is the
You
thing.
got
Because
twatted.
That was like
you can go on tilt or poker term, because I do like a game of poker. You can get a bit keen on this because you get a big robot in early doors and you want to go nutty with that thing. You want to batter the crap out of someone, and you're ploughing resources into it, and then you look down at your resource pool and you think, oh crap, and you're running out for what's coming later in the turn. But as Straw said, there is a global rule. Every wrecker can take 3 resources, no problem. Now after that, you spend to your heart's content. You commit the resource, and then you test for overload. And if you don't pass the overload test, well, that resource just did nothing.
Yeah.
What happens is, quite a lot of the time, you then get a little bit irritated by the fact that that hasn't done anything, so you put another one on.
Yeah.
But the bigger the stack goes, the harder it gets to make the overload roll.
So it's the risk and reward thing,
Yeah.
which you
Yeah.
all know that the Battle Hammer is a very, very big fan of.
Yeah.
It's all got to be risk.
And you've got this is a starting example of what one would get in a thing. We've got 5 wreckers each.
So the idea is, if we were talking like the dream of if this were ever to make it onto a shop shelf, you'd have a starter box, because this plays 3 on 3. Plays absolutely perfectly 3 on 3. So you'd have a starter box, which would be a large, in fact it's literally what I've got here. So it'd be one large wrecker, which are pretty huge, so we've got 60mm base, about 75mm tall, 75mm tall. You'd have a medium wrecker, and you'd have a small wrecker. That would be your starter box, hopefully a very reasonable price. And then you'd buy a blister, which would add to that whatever else you wanted. Because it's army selections, you've actually got 150 megawatts to play with, spend it how you want. If you want to just take 3 and Christmas tree the crap out of this thing with upgrades, away you go. What we've given you here is a standard 5 on 5.
Sure.
That's a balanced
It's
list.
a good number.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good number, it's a balanced list. But it wouldn't hurt if suddenly we dropped this and put a couple more upgrades in over there,
Yeah.
or we added one here and took some off there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would suggest that if you were playing a 150 megawatt game, you're looking at anything between 4 and 6 wreckers. So you're not breaking the bank to put them on the table.
And I've noticed one of the things we noticed literally as you came in was it's a 3 foot by 2 foot
Yeah.
size table, which is great for people who don't have a huge amount of space. You don't need, an 8x4
No.
table set up. You can sit down and play it on a kitchen table, which is great because a lot of games you can't.
Well,
And
unless
I-
you're having your dinner on it.
Well, yeah, and we did notice that the first turn you're actually in and doing something.
Yeah.
Like a lot of games, the first turn you're just like, well, sometimes even the second turn as well.
Yeah.
You're just moving up and going, well, they're gonna move and they're gonna be.
I'm just
they're-
gonna
They're
work
exactly
this
where they
way.
were, but they're 12 inches in. And I've seen that in no end of games.
I was shooting on turn 1.
And we
for
were
Christ's
in.
sake.
We were.
At the end of the day, how many games have like a 4x4 foot board
Yeah.
you deploy at 12 inches?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, where do you put your cards? Personally, I
Yeah.
put them in the back 12 inches that I never use.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
just go,
Yeah.
there's a foot on either side of this board that is utterly irrelevant to the game that we are playing.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll have my beer here, my pizza here, and my cards here, because I know we're never going to play in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, fuck it, just cut it off.
Just go off. That's a great idea.
Great idea. So,
Um,
do you want to see it played?
another thing.
He's
Another
got
thing.
go
He's
on.
got another thing.
Another
Oh, he's
thing that I
going for
really
this
like.
one. we'll let him have this one.
I do love me some custom dice because you can see.
It's because you can't fucking count.
Well, yeah, true. But also you can see where you are with custom coloured dice.
You
go,
know where you're
I'm
sad.
rolling 1 red, 1 white, and a black, and I can
Yeah.
roll them, and I know what I just little things like that just appeal to me because
I'm
a
not
stupid.
saying it.
I'm a stupid person, and I need to be numbers. I don't know, but custom dice, love it. So I suppose we should start playing.
Do you want to just talk about the battlefield as the
Yeah,
last thing?
yeah,
just
please
put it,
do.
that was going
No,
to be
you're
my
good.
third feature.
That's going to be your
That was
third
going to be my
feature.
third
Yeah,
feature.
definitely.
It's
Oh, you'll come round here demanding out of
I know, it's
I know.
unbelievable, isn't it?
Terrible.
Yeah, so like you say, you've highlighted the machinists, you've highlighted the resources. The one other thing that we all found playing games over many, many years is
Many
years.
Too many.
Too many.
I've buried 3 wives since I've played this game.
I like the idea that they're all in the back garden.
They are.
Yeah.
And they're under that patio. Why do you think it's like that? Oh dear.
All stacked up.
Quite often, we found in a lot of games that we were playing that scenarios in the game would they'd feel like they would feel like they were shoehorned in on top. So a lot of the time we'd pick up. I'm not going to name any games. We'd pick up a game, and we'd go.
You know who you are.
The rule books would say and pick a scenario, and we'd just go, oh fuck that off. Let's just have a fight, because that gave you the freedom to do what you wanted to do. Because the scenarios like forced you into a place. So it was like, right, what's the scenario? There is a wizard's tower in the middle of the board.
Woo!
You must capture the wizard's tower for 1,000,000 extra bonus points. So then everyone sets up looking at the wizard's tower. Both armies pile towards the wizard's tower, and you just end up with a big melee around the wizard's tower. And 6 turns later, you're going, who owns the wizard's tower? Or there are 2 zones of very strategic importance on this board. This plot of land over here,
And that field
this
over
plot
there.
of land over there. They are extremely strategically valuable. So what you need to do is you need to split your army in half, park half of it in X and half of it in Y. And again, again you end up with just 2 big fat melees who can push, damage, kill the opponent in those 2 areas. So how can you move the battlefield? How can people don't play in the corners? People don't play at the back. So
Well, there's a reason for that. That's where you put your beer and your cards.
we've already cut the beer and card bit off though.
We've got beer and card space now.
Just making sure you're awake.
We took the knife to the beer and cards
Clever.
bit.
Clever.
So we've got, if we can see on the camera, we've got
Oh yeah, you can see.
3 nodes down the middle, and we've got 2 base nodes on either side. Base nodes provide some extra bonus resources. The idea is that you're going to try and control these nodes. Controlling a node, standard zone around it, you have a machine there, he does not. So, fine, you now control this node. It's live at the moment, which means it can be interacted with. If at the end of the round you control this node, double-sided, we take it off, we flip it over, you've earthed it. There you go. And in doing that, you've sent a bit of feedback in terms of trying to put straw into a coma, which I'm sure is too challenging.
If only it wasn't a game.
No one had noticed.
You put a point of feedback onto Kovac, but at that point, this node is now earthed. It's no longer relevant for a turn. You're going to open up another node, and these nodes on the base edge do much more damage. So you're now going to choose, alright, I'm going to open this node here. That flips to live. If in the 1 round that it's open, because it only stays open for 1 round, you can get across there and control that node, you're going to do 3 feedback to straw, which is considerable.
That's a universal. That's it.
Universal, 3 feedback. Now, bearing in mind that killing a normal wrecker is 2, killing a small wrecker is 1.
Getting to one of those baseline nodes.
Getting to one of those baseline nodes is really key.
Yeah.
But the battlefield has shifted. Just by controlling 1 node, suddenly, being here is an irrelevance. Being over here is extremely significant. So instead of standing here, flicking the V's going, hey, I've got this, come and clear me off it, you've got to move, you've got to keep going. And it's risk rewards.
There is no real sitting on it and just going, no,
You can't camp it. There's no point. You're wasting your time. So suddenly this wrecker that's come up and has got to move across here. But as this wrecker is moving across here, straw can be going, all right, fair enough. You're going that way. I'll defend with this, and I'll start pushing down here. The battlefield is shifting continuously. So as the game develops, you've got a fight over here, turn 2, which becomes 2 fights here and here, turn 3, which then shifts to another fight over here, turn 4, and everything moves.
I like that.
I think
really do like
I know
that.
it sounds like a silly thing to say, but in a game with miniatures,
Miniatures,
Toy soldiers.
miniatures,
dolls.
it's
Man dolls.
easy
Man dollies.
that they just become like lumps that just sit there and don't do anything. Whereas really, what you want, the whole point is you pick them up and you move them around and you go pew pew.
Pew!
That's what you want in a game. I think that it's easy in a lot of games to just go, this is my lump of stuff, it will stay here until.
I have played games which will be unnamed where certain height challenged factions have set up in a.
Are they bearded as well?
They have beards.
Ah.
They sometimes bring machines with them, and they have set up in a space 8 inches by 8 inches in the corner of a 6 foot by 4 foot board, and they have not moved. And the exercise that player goes through is picking up a number of dice and a tape measure for 2 hours and just seeing what numbers they can roll.
Now that's what we call a negative play experience.
It is, and that game, it has no value, but that player can win. Because there's no reason for them to go out onto the board.
No.
If you pick a faction of an array of Daikus, our longbow-armed one that you've been quite enjoying,
awesome.
and you park 5 Daikus in this corner and sit there shooting stuff for the entire game, you may kill a couple of wreckers, and you will have lost by turn 3, because whilst you're sat there pinging away with your longbow,
bing, bing, bing. Even I can see that, and I'm stupid.
Feedback
Yes,
done.
you are. I mean,
you have to interact with the board. You have to move and do stuff.
and it even fits with the theme of it, like in that you're in this arena, people the people watching
Yeah.
need an entertaining experience.
Yeah.
You know, those who are
The
those who are
downtrodden
about to
of
be
the world,
broken,
yeah.
Salute,
Just
we
sitting
salute
over
you.
here, they're not going to
They're
be
not
happy
going to be
with you.
entertained by it.
No, these are the gladiators of the new world. I mean, they're, you know,
Gladiator! Had to be done. Had to be
the
done.
machinists are the celebrities, but you know,
Is there
the
a jet?
poor downtrodden ridden. I wish actually there is a jet. Where's the geisha?
Yeah,
Oh,
there
it's not.
you
We
go.
only got the
There's no
artwork
bloody
the other
picture
day.
on it. I feel somewhat cheated.
I will dig the picture
And
out for you.
stuck.
It is sticky though already, which is slightly worrying.
It wasn't me. They're on his side. They're not on my side. I haven't touched them yet.
You know, they want to see a Shogun because it's a picture of the world before. Because these things ain't powered anymore. You know, they're not. They don't have electric in their lives. They don't have fuel in them. They don't have food in their lives. They have nothing in their lives. But then they hear a rumour that a match has been called, and they flood to this area to get just this vision of what life used to be like. So they're sat around the sides, the fucking Dickensian, poor and huddled, just sat there like one leg and venereal diseases, just watching.
5
as-
robots enter! 5 robots leave! What the?
Effectively, yeah. It's
But yeah, it's that kind of.
Dickensian Thunderdrome. Yeah.
Yeah, Salute the Jugger. It's got all that kind of vibe. And as we were talking about before we started filming, because it's on this. See, a lot of games suffer from that area of where, like, you know what, I could just go over here, but you can't because you can't go over there.
You've got nowhere to run.
The whole point is that it's in an arena, so there's no like.
Abandoned factory with.
Well, why can't I just fly off the edge? Because there's no edge. This is just.
Why would you want to fly off the edge? Because you've got to get the nose to get the points.
Well, even then,
Not the points,
even then
mate.
there's no prizes.
Yay! Oh,
Right, I suppose we
I'm
better get
kind of
playing.
I suppose you want to see a game now, don't you?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Unlucky.
I'm all
They've
excited.
got to go now. They're not staying. They're leaving.
But they're leaving all this here, right?
We shall be back
Give it a try.
momentarily
Yeah.
with a game.
Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like.
No,
subscribe
give me
if you
the
don't
like and subscribe shit.
What?
Aren't we doing that bit?
Well, if it's a separate video, we should do. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked it or subscribe. If you don't like it, don't subscribe. Don't have to like and subscribe. But we would like it if you liked and subscribed. And until next time.
Tune in for the
stay
next
happy.
part.
Yeah.
We are so crap. How do we ever be